Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of Watch News Weekly. I'm joined by Marco Ferrante to my right. Thank you for joining me, Marco. Got some exciting topics today.
Yeah, good ones.
A lot of good stuff has happened in the last week that we're going to discuss. We're going to jump right into it, and I'm going to call this one, hey, so when you want to make a little bit of extra money and don't really want to innovate much, take an existing model, throw more diamonds on it, throw in one of the most complicated complications on it for shits and giggles, charge somebody $1 million, and there you have it, because there will be people lined up to buy them. And what are we talking about? Obviously, we're talking about the new Patek Philippe, their new jeweled line that they just revealed. One is an existing watch, is the Aquanaut Lucci, which they already made, the rainbow, which I was a big fan of when we talked about this.
Yeah,
we talked about new models.
Chronograph.
Of course, they took that a little bit to the next level. They decided to say, you know what, let's throw a minute repeater in there. Let's add a bracelet that's a full, complete rainbow bracelet, and the result is, oh boy.
I mean, it's such a departure from what we're used to seeing from Patek Philippe, especially the full rainbow bracelet. First of all, I think on the rainbow bracelet, it looks, I mean, I'm sorry, but it just looks
There's a Hublot, just like...
It looks horrid. Like, it looks really, really bad, and it's a bad look for a brand like Patek Philippe to release something like that. I think on a strap, it's a lot more muted. They probably only should have released it on a strap, in my honest opinion.
What is the point of adding a minute repeater that outside of raising the retail price to $1 million?
I mean, I guess because they think it could be a unisex watch in the same way.
It is a unisex watch.
Yeah, which it is.
Technically, it's a men's watch. It's a 41 millimeter watch.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, like, I guess it's part of the loose collection, loose being the ladies collection. But the thing is just, I don't get it. You know what I mean? It's just, we saw them release such a traditional minute repeater, you know, in honor of his father, Terry Stern, honoring Philippe Stern.
Which was pretty controversial to begin with.
Right. And then we see this 1 week later, and it's just like, what is Patek Philippe doing? I don't get it.
Who is turning in their grave right now is the question, right? Let's go back to the previous slide where it shows it on the bracelet, right? Look, the Aquanaut bracelet is not the best looking bracelet to begin with. It's horrible to begin with.
Very chunky, very...
But here's the hot take on this. I guarantee you will see this on the wrist of some sort of a pop star. Guaranteed. Guaranteed this will be the watch to flex. You will see this on the wrist of like a Drake.
Listen, they're not going to make many of this, that's for sure. It's going to go to their highest end clients, so I doubt we see it on that many pop stars.
It's just that little bit of extra income towards the end of the year, I'm telling you.
Yeah, but it's just, I don't understand.
They're going to take a bunch of deposits, and you're going to have to be approved for this watch. Now, the other models they came up with...
It's a 1.6 million retail, you know that, right?
The 1.4 million is the one without the bracelet.
Yeah, that's without the bracelet.
So the other ones are the new 7118s, right, which is a smaller lady size Nautiluses. So when the Richard Mille did the snow set, right, it worked on some models, it didn't work on others. And my thing was I couldn't help it but to get the 47th Street bust down vibe every time I see a snow set watch. Right. It's like as if they purposely set the watch badly. But looking at, strictly judging by pictures, sapphire, ruby, emerald, kind of looks cool.
It's nice. So they did the sapphire, ruby, emerald bezels, right, on a Nautilus, which I thought was just like and it was also on the dial, matching the bezel. Yeah, no, they're a huge hit. Are you kidding? Those are actually like very good looking watches, just because they're very classy, they're very sophisticated. This right here, again, I just get the vibe of cheap, don't know what to produce. Let's just put this out because...
And here we are.
Like throw stuff at the wall and hope.
But here we are. They take the Lucci, right? Yeah. And this is a 41 millimeter, and they give it the bracelet and ice it out further, or rainbow it out, I guess, at this point.
Yeah.
Why go and do this on a 7118? Do it on a 5811. You know, give it a bigger size. Let men buy these, because men would buy these.
Yeah, they would definitely buy this. I mean, again, I don't know what crowd they're going for with these releases. I think it's just such a departure from traditional Patek Philippe that it just...
And then there was the...
It's shocking.
And then there's the commemorative Maroon 5 edition. Well, it's really not. It's just a maroon. That's a maroon color, maroonish, right? 7010. It's neither here nor there. It's a good looking watch.
Yeah, that's fine.
You know, it's subtle. It's different color. It's fun. Yep. I get it. Make it in 5 different colors, right?
Yep.
Yeah. I
got nothing left to say.
Yeah, I'm done.
I'm just disappointed. This just feels like Patek is chasing hype.
It's called cash grab and chasing the hype.
Yeah, pretty much.
Let's go to the next news and that is, I'm going to let you pronounce that.
The 2023 GPHG Grand Prix d'Horlogerie.
Come on.
It's actually the hardest word for me to say in French. D'Horlogerie de Genève.
I'm going to call it the GPHG Awards, right? And this is where there's a lot of ass kissing that goes on, and anybody who thinks that anybody in the watch industry wants to be there, and if you get elected to be a judge, it's just, oh my God. And
bro, why aren't you a judge? You should be a judge, I feel like.
They don't want me as a judge because I'm going to tell them how it is, and I'm not going to be kissing anybody's ass, and they're going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But let's go through the winners, right? And this is going to be the award for the most iconic watch. The winner here was the Ulysse Nardin Freak. Looking at its competition, it was not an easy choice. You have some of the most iconic models in here, starting with the Breitling Navitimer, the Tag Heuer Carrera, the IWC Ingenieur.
I think in this category, to me, the clear winner would have been the IWC Ingenieur had they not botched the release. I don't like the design of it. I think they really should have just re-released the 1832.
Well, to be fair, let's talk about why is the Ulysse Nardin Freak so iconic?
I mean, yeah, it's iconic because 20, 30 years ago when this was released, this was the first carousel turbo of its kind made by Carole Forestier, who got her start at Renault Papy, went on to work for the Collection Privé of Cartier, also worked at UN, and she honed her skills there. And when this was released, again, it was a groundbreaking movement for the industry. At the time, this was a one-of-a-kind watch, unlike anything we'd ever seen. So it's definitely an iconic watch, no doubt about it. But I just look at the lineup, like I can make an argument for the Breitling Navitimer, which I think
you can make the argument for the Sharpard LUC.
I mean, I think the Navitimer is probably arguably a top 10 all-time iconic watch. I can even say the Tag Heuer Carrera Chronograph could have won over that. It's a solid lineup, so tough to make the argument.
It is a tough argument to make, and again, the question becomes is how do you judge the iconicism, right? Is it the design, the pedigree of the design? Is it the pedigree of the watchmaking? Is it iconic in ways where it's one of the most recognizable watches out there? Arguably, the Tag Heuer Carrera, along with the Navitimer, is probably one of the most recognizable watches to people who don't even know anything about watches, right? So, tough decision, but look, at the end of the day, we were not the judges. So they chose the Freak. Congratulations to Ulysse Nardin. I think it's well-deserved. The company's finally going in the right direction now, being, again, privately owned, reducing production. It's the hottest
new independent?
It's the hottest new independent?
No,
they're not independent. They have 170 years, 180 years of history behind them continuously, so they're not an independent for sure. Let's go to the next topic, and that's going to be Sports Watch Prize winner, and the Tudor Pelagus 39 won that. I have an issue with that.
Really? I look at the field, I think for sure it should have won.
Well, maybe it's the field that I have an issue with.
Yeah, the field sucks. I mean,
the field is terrible.
Works. What the hell is
the Monza Tag Heuer?
That should
the Doxa looks like any other Doxa. The Groenfield sports watch.
Yeah, it shouldn't be.
No,
IWC Ingenieur doesn't belong there either.
Well, that's actually the one that I mean. Besides the Alpine Eagle
no, that definitely shouldn't be up there.
Why?
The Alpine Eagle should not be part of the sport. What's so special about that? They released this 6 years ago. It's just a new edition.
Well, it's not a new edition. This is a watch that was reinvented or reimagined. Or
yeah, but they released it, 3, 4, 5 years ago now at this point?
And we haven't heard much about them. We've sold one, I think, since they released.
To me, Pelagos 39, and this field for sure.
So you think it's...
But the field is horrible. I feel like Titanium Yamaha 100% should have been the sports one. Yeah, for sure.
Well... I guess good job to Tudor, Rolex.
I mean, Rolex still won.
Yeah, Rolex still won. Let's go to the next topic. And the next topic is going to be the Tourbillon. And this is the one that caught me by surprise. And I found myself looking at this and saying, I probably would have a hard time here. Now, I know that Laurent Ferry is the hairspring tourbillon, right? Which is extremely, extremely difficult to execute. So I guess we're looking from a horological perspective here. Now, the conical tourbillon from HYT is also extremely, extremely impressive from a horological perspective, from a technical perspective. The Bulgari, okay, the Papillon tourbillon, as they call it, right?
It's actually French. Papillon, it's butterfly.
Excuse me. I know you're Canadian, Marco. Stop flexing on me. All right.
I'm from Quebec.
You don't want to. You don't want to know what that sounds like in Russian. Trust me when I tell you. Right. Beauvais. I was always been a fan of Beauvais, and personally, looking at Patek Philippe. And then Panerai followed suit for a couple of their models. I'm not a fan of the tourbillon cage being hidden. I'm just not. Yeah,
I don't think it should. I mean, listen, if you're going to add a tourbillon to a wristwatch, I think it's a very old way of thinking in that you're going to hide that tourbillon. It's only for the user to enjoy. At the end of the day, aesthetically, I don't think there is a more aesthetically... Yeah, but there's also not a more aesthetically pleasing... Like, you look at a watch, right? What's the two most, I think, aesthetically pleasing watches are open-work watches and tourbillons that are visible on the dial, just because you get to see the
movement,
workings.
experience the
movement.
movement.
Yeah, exactly. You get to actually physically see how your watch is being powered.
You had to pick out of this lineup. What are you going with?
I think the Laurent Ferrier is a good choice. That's probably the one I would go with. I mean, again, they didn't invent something new. That movement's been out. They did it in many wristwatches. They just did it in a gorgeous salmon dial. But honestly, I think the HYT is probably a more deserving winner.
I'm on the same page. Yeah. HYT most definitely would have been my choice, with Laurent Ferrier being second.
Yeah.
And from there, I'd probably be jumping to, I think
Bulgari should have been.
Bulgari, yeah, Bulgari.
Nice jump power.
Yeah, those would probably be my top three. Let's go to the next slide. And the next slide is the best chronograph, Peter Mbidot. Chronograph Rattrapant, i.e. split second chronograph.
Well-deserving winner.
This is, what a field. First of all, we have a Royal Oak Offshore self-winding flying tourbillon chronograph in there. We have a DB DB8 in there, a Grand Seiko, a Singer. The tag, I'm like, who put these in? Like, it's just, it's not even, like,
so I'll be honest, Grand Seiko, Singer, and Tag Heuer, I'm just going to throw all three out. Like, they automatically, they lose against the other three, right?
Singer reimagined.
Like Singer, the thing is they use, I forget the name of the movement, but they use a base movement, so does Tag Heuer. So there's nothing new about those chronographs, right? Like,
what about Grand Seiko?
Grand Seiko has an in-house chronograph movement, but I imagine it's probably one that they've been using, right? It's not something new or innovative from the brand. Unless I'm wrong, please let me know in the comments. But to me, the clear winner was Peter Mbidot. I did a video on top 5 watches released in 2023, and this was one of them, just because it's the first ever top-down, newly built, monopusher, split-second chronograph, built by an independent watchmaker. They only released 11 pieces, sold out before its releases, 250,000 retail.
Surprise.
And well-deserved, because, this watch is spectacular.
So it seemed to me like they just couldn't find a chronograph to compete. They threw in some brands in there. They
probably had to fill up the
As much as I love the Audemars Piguet, how do you put that in this playing field? Like, where does that even fit in? Especially the lime green version.
The thing is that movement has been out, right? They released the sandblasted titanium. This is just a new kind of colorway, if you will. And I don't even like the green. It's like a bamboo green. Like, it's a lime green.
It looks like it'll match a nice.
LimeWire? LimeWire, where you used to download it? That's what it reminds me of. It's like the LimeWire logo on the AP. Yeah.
I guess the question becomes is sometimes, look, because of the nature of the Mbidot chrono, there really isn't anything out in the field that's out there that could match up.
The de Bethune is somewhat competitive, but we've seen de Bethune chronos before, and again, a split-second chrono will always overtake a mono.
Not a fan of it aesthetically either.
No, it's just too simple.
That's a monopusher as well,
Very,
right?
very plain. Yeah, it's very plain.
Let's go to the next slide, and that's the last slide, and that's the
overall winner, right?
The overall winner.
Yeah, so Aiguille d'Or is basically like winning, Best Actor at the Oscars.
How did you say it?
Aiguille d'Or.
Aiguille d'Or. Yeah. I'm going to learn French here.
It means like a golden needle. Aiguille.
The gold finger.
Yeah, gold finger. Yeah, number 1. Yeah, best of the best. Yeah, RD4, this is something that we talked about. Again, another one I featured in my top 5 releases that I think are the best from this year, just because it's the first ever perpetual calendar that you can go forwards and backwards in terms of the date without breaking it. Developed by Renaud and Papy, not to mention it combines a moon phase, perpetual calendar, split-second chronograph, Grand Petite Sonnerie. You go down the list. There's 24 complications.
It's not just the Grand Petite. So basically, it's the Grand Comp for Audemars Piguet.
Yeah,
the Grand is Grand Comp, right? Exactly. Kind of like the Scott.
The most complicated watch I think they ever made.
Exactly. Is it an automatic?
It is automatic.
And it's an automatic. Wow. So the thing with this watch is you look at the little details, right? For example, like you said, the perpetual calendar, being able to go backwards. The Grand Petit Sonnerie, it wasn't just, we've done a Grand Petit Sonnerie, we're just going to slap it in there. No, separate research was done for sound with that observatory, something or other that I can't pronounce in French either. But it's something that it's an RD watch, research and development. Yep. Lots of research, lots of development went into making this watch, and everything about this watch just shows Audemars Piguet once again flexing their muscles as they always do. I think it's well deserved. There wasn't a watch that I think came even remotely close.
No, not even
to
close.
The winner of this.
By far and away
well deserved. Great job, Audemars Piguet.
The only thing is I don't like this particular version. It's a bit too I guess traditional is the right word.
Looks a bit like a Breitling nap timer.
The best one they released was like a white gold one with an open work dial. Crazy looking watch. That one's insane.
I think this was judged just based on complication.
Right.
You know, and I feel like it's not even fair. There wasn't a watch that could be submitted to even fight this. Let's go to the next topic. And this is probably my favorite topic of this episode, and that's the new Horological Machine 11. So the HM11 from MB&F, drawing its inspiration from futuristic architecture of the 60s, very space age time as we like to call it. Everything was like rounded, kind of looked like a spaceship. Lots of cool things about this particular watch. It is a tourbillon. It does have design innovation as well as horological innovation. I think the biggest horological innovation on here is the fact of how this watch winds, right? So it's a ratchet system. You have these 4 windows. One window has the time, another window has the power reserve, or room, I would say, in the house, right? The other room in the house has the crown to change the time, and the last one has temperature, meaning it's a thermometer. It's not something that's new for watches. This was done a long, long time ago. These things were in watches for quite some time, going back hundreds of years, believe it or not.
And it's also a throwback to classical watchmaking, right? Because a lot of the time you'll see this in certain marine chronometers, pocket watches, because these were actually useful complications.
These watches were actually used outside of the iPhone. Exactly. So saying, Siri, what's the temperature like today? Right? But the horological, so the throwback was the thermometer. The horological innovation here was the winding system. So if you wanted to twist this watch, and let's say you want to face the time, or if you want to face whatever you want to face, right? However you want to, change your watch, it is also the winding mechanism. And it takes a whopping 9 times around to wind that entire watch. And it's got like a 96-hour power reserve.
Yeah.
Normally, imagine how many times you would have to wind during, using a traditional crown.
Yeah, and each time you turn it 90 degrees, I believe it powers the watch for 2.5 hours. So you do the math.
Pretty insane. Yeah, you see touches of space age design from the top to the way even the time is displayed. It's sort of like that orbital, that space age clock. It's crazy, it's weird, it's big, it's very much MB&F, and it's very much MB&F horological machine rather than their legacy line. Again, this has been in the works since 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, so it took them 5 years to put this together. 230,000 Swiss franc price tag. I think they're making 25 or 30 of these.
That's fair. Well, two things. So as far as I know, I actually spoke to a customer of mine who's a great customer for MB&F, and he said, I can't even buy the blue one myself. It's completely sold out already. So the only one that's available nowadays is the one with the rose gold base plates. Interesting thing about this is, I don't think it's like really any other HM before, right? Because it actually takes the shape somewhat of a traditional watch, it being around, rounder shape, right?
It's a bit of an overstatement.
I mean, more traditional looking. I think this is probably the future of the HM line, and it makes sense just because it's probably something that appeals to the greater masses. But I'm glad to see MB&F is getting the success it deserves with the blue one already being sold out, and I imagine the red one is well on its way.
I will kill that argument in one sentence.
Oh boy.
There's not a single horological machine that looks like another.
No, definitely not.
And that's the point of horological machines, is they're all completely different, uber avant-garde, crazy in a sense. And you know what? If I had a chance to own one of these, I would own one of these.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's go to the next piece of news. And the next piece of news is Urwerk unveils the UR230, affectionately named the Eagle, to replace the UR220. Now, we just sold our 220 Falcon, right, which is the carbon case and so on and so forth. And this is where we actually discussed this prior to this, and you were like, okay, so, satellite display concept incorporates new functions, they said, such as dual variable geometry turbine, but that already existed.
I mean, we've seen the turbine systems on their watches. Maybe they improved it slightly or changed
hybrid winding system, and what this has, the other thing, it didn't have the case with a protective cover, or what did you call it, the sunroof?
Yeah, it's like a pretty much.
Again, they came out with a successful model, right? So they said, okay, we're going to make a new model that's going to play off its previous models. It took a page out of the Rolex book and say, you know what, the GMT sold well with this dial. We're going to make it with a different dial. I'm not sure. Maybe I would have to read deeper. When they do mention its new functions, dual variable geometry turbine. So was the other turbine not
maybe
dual?
Maybe unidirectional? You know what I mean? Like that's,
exactly. It could be a play on words. Could be something innovative. Again, and now they're going to, it's black DLC treated titanium and CTP, carbon tin ply. Does that ring a bell of, like, say, NTPT or TPT?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it's just their own proprietary blend.
Exactly. It's another plastic case, just like from Richard Mille, Audemars Piguet, anything else. Let's just call it carbon. They call it something else. 180,000 Swiss franc. The 220 wasn't that high. 220, I think it was only sitting at like 165, I believe.
I mean, listen, we've seen the whole vented hood.
Let's pull the picture up.
So the vented hood system obviously adds additional expense, right? One for the actual design of it, second the mechanics, but also to make that whole carbon design must not be easy, especially due to the three-dimensionality of it. It feels novel, it feels like we've seen this before. It's like, it's whatever.
Nevertheless, good-looking watch, and you know what? It's funny, like, sometimes you look at a watch, and we see so many watches on a daily basis, and I've seen so many watches in the last 20 years that oftentimes I stick with, like, what's my first impression? What's the first thing that comes to mind? And, like, it's a mixture of a Richard Mille slogan. When I look at this, you know what this tells me right away? I think of Lamborghini on the wrist. I don't know why. I just thought Lamborghini. When I saw that, I'm thinking Aventador, right? It definitely has that sexy design and whatever. Let's go to the next topic, and I like this topic because it has to do with my favorite F1 racing team, and that is the Mercedes Formula One team. They had great success with the chronograph I bought for myself while at the F1 race in Miami. They're opening their debut race, right? And you know what? It was only right that they continue doing what they're doing, continuing that success. And one of the things I loved about this particular release is that, so they did the regular release with the turquoise dial, right? AMG colors, right? Not Tiffany. They're AMG colors that were there before the Tiffany craze, okay? So for anybody that wants to say that PETRONAS colors were sort of that Tiffany color prior, the whole hype, right? And then they changed the dial up and the straps up completely in the interim. And now they come out not even 3 years later, they come out with what I like to call a hell of a follow-up. Right? Now, let's talk about the fact that it's made out of ceratinium alloy. Okay? I'm not a chemist. I'm assuming ceratinium is
ceramic and titanium.
It's like
it's a ceramic and titanium blend, so you get the hardness, the scratch resistance of ceramic while having also the kind of advantages of a titanium watch, which is also very scratch resistant.
A bit of a jump in retail, right? So the original one, I remember the first, the AMG Chrono was selling for
$9,000.
Whatever, it was like it was like $8,000, right? This one jumps up to $13,700, and by looking at the picture, I am going to say it's well justified.
It's a hit. This looks great.
This is definitely a hit. I like the fact that they gave you two options. Not everybody could be a fan of the Petronas colors, those Tiffany colors, or even though they're very, very subtle. If I had to pick one, I'm going with the Tiffany colors. I like the sunken subdials. I think it's a nice little touch.
Agreed. Adds depth to the dial.
Bezel, I'm assuming the easy interchangeable straps, et cetera, et cetera. There's a bracelet that comes with this. It does make the price jump up to
nearly $20,000.
Near $20,000, $6,000. I believe it's still justifiable too, because to make that bracelet the way it is, out of that material, I think that $6,000 price tag is justifiable in terms of percentages. And if you look across other brands of, percentage-wise, how much does a watch jump up in value or retail value, it's actually not as big as some of the other brands, right? You add a bracelet on the Grubel 4Z, the percentage-wise, the price goes up even higher. But wonderful job. I think I may have to trade mine in and get this new one.
You know what? It's there's aspects to it that are unlike any other Flieger that we've seen. So kudos to IWC for continuing to successfully reimagine their Flieger design.
How difficult was it for IWC to get away from a particular label? That label being Pilot's Watch.
Yeah.
You look at anytime we looked at an IWC, we would think Pilot's Watch, and they finally, I think, broke. And not that was a bad thing, right? But now I'm looking at this, and I'm no longer thinking Pilot's Watch. With clearly design-wise, and obviously its pedigree, it is clearly a Pilot's Watch. But yet, I look at it and I think car racing, and that's great. If they're able to identify as a racing watch as well as a Pilot's Watch, I think it's a big W in their column.
Yep.
So with that said, that's going to be it for us today. Wonderful topics. Like you guys to remember something. Like these Watch News Weeklies, they're not really in our control.
Yeah, there's also I love the fact that we got to celebrate watchmaking after a lot of controversy with the only watch auction, GPHG being a nice celebration of everything that the brands have accomplished. Even I didn't even mention it, but Sven Anderson and Vincent Calabrese got an honorary award for all their work that they've done for independent watchmakers. So it's always nice to see that the passion is still there for watches despite some bad news or things.
I met them both in Basel, 2006, 7, I think.
Yeah,
I met them both. Interesting characters.
Yeah.
But the most interesting character that I met that year that I was there was definitely Vianney Holter.
Yeah.
But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you sticking around. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Watch News Weekly. Like, comment, share, subscribe. We'll see you next week.